The most bullish signal of them all for Bitcoin, for the stock market, for gold is firing right now. The most bullish and most accurate signal. Look at this. This is Jim Cramer. Jim Cramer is saying Bitcoin and gold, bad money, been liquidated for SpaceX. Apple and Nvidia, good money, been liquidated, right? This is the effect. You know, this is Jim Cramer, right? He called this literally like about 12 hours ago. And this is about as accurate a signal as you're going to get, right? So I jumped on this and I went the opposite way. I said, okay, this makes me so bullish, right? We're probably at bottom right now, right? So I would say Bitcoin near bottom in the high 50s, like 57, 59, somewhere there, bottom. Gold, 4,000, maybe we get a dip to 3,800 area, bottom. Silver, been calling this for a long time. Low 60s, maybe a dip to the high 50s, bottom, right? And this is before more bullcrap news came out, which made the market bounce. So what happened was that this happened like yesterday. I tweeted that around here, and then boom, then we had this candle because Trump came out with more. We're going to show you what's going to happen with the SpaceX IPO in a sec. But what Trump did was, you're going to love this, more like just Tourette syndrome, right? US will be hitting Iran. Navy, Air Force, radar, anti-aircraft, all hitting them very hard tonight. Very hard tonight, right? That was trending very hard tonight. Made me thought it was, what some OnlyFans lady was probably on fire or something, right? Now, then just 3.5 hours later, he tweeted, based on the fact that discussion, essentially a peace deal, another peace deal. This is probably the 40th peace deal they've done, and this one is discussed in great detail, approved by all the parties involving U.S., Israel, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Egypt, all these others. And then Fox and all these news networks ran with it and started saying, "Oh, peace deal. We're getting a peace deal." Now, either way, the markets bounced. When this news came out, the spider basically bounced up like this. Spider up almost 2%. Nasdaq 3%, right? Nasdaq 3%. Nasdaq 100 over 3%, by the way. So basically, the market is bouncing. I'll show you this situation on gold and silver right now before we get to Bitcoin. The thing to watch out for is the weekly. Look at this. One more stab down, I said, right? We really need a close, right? Something like this. Friday close, we really need a close no lower than where it is right now, which is what? 66.7. Yeah, we really need a close at 66.7 or above to make this a bottoming tail. Hopefully, even if it turns green, that's even better, right? That's even better. Close above this key line, big wick to the bottom, large volume. Is it? I can't see the volume on this one. I'll probably have to pull it up on another chart. For Bitcoin, right, look at this. Also, for the Bitcoin doesn't close the week until Sunday evening, Greenwich Mean Time, which means you basically, if we can close in the green here, like 63.5 or above, that's also a nice bottoming tail. It's looking nice. Look, if something happens dramatically in the stock market, we can always go down and revisit 56, 57K. My thinking is, unless a COVID-like crash, unless a black swan event happens, above 55, I'm buying, right? I'm buying above 55. And I can see a lot of whales buying as well, right? Because we're right here, right at the 200-week moving average, right? A lot of whales have their orders placed anywhere between 55 to 60, anywhere between 55 to 60, right? You drop, they buy. You drop, they buy. Basically, this is not the time to be bearish on Bitcoin. So I'm cautiously calling the bottom on Bitcoin here. And here's my my Bitcoin trade. Cautiously calling the bottom, right? Double bottom, thinking double bottom here, right? And here's my cautious trade on Bitcoin. And look, this is not something that only happened today. So my Bitcoin chart here is basically, as we can see, right? This is something I drew in mid-February, right? And been calling for a bull trap to the top and fake down 58 to 60K. We got hit exactly 59K in between. and basically then pop up, right? This could go, it may not be right straight up like what I have drawn here. It could be like a sideways, spend about 4 weeks to 5 weeks, 3 to 5 weeks. Let's say 3 weeks to 5 weeks sideways, then we pop up, right? There could be a delay. Just to freak people out, just to make people say, oh, it's a bear flag. Because when it comes down here, and if it goes sideways like this, people are going to say, that's a bear flag. That's a bear flag, right? And it's going to go down. If that happens, I will be of the opposite opinion. I will say that's the bottom and we head up. It's going to be like this. Look, 2022 bottom. Same thing. Comes down here, sideways, right? People anticipating another drop down, but it actually went up. So the situation in Bitcoin, I'm willing to call a bottom here cautiously, right? Don't use high leverage, don't use huge leverage, provided that there is no black swan event in the stock market. When I say black swan event, that means like this sort of shit, like COVID, like if COVID was a black swan event, like if Iran and what's his name and Israel and some of those countries, Middle Eastern countries, don't start just escalating into a totally new other war again. Overall, why is it that I think Bitcoin is going for a big bounce? And by the way, Ethereum, I think the selling pressure is over. We're going to talk about that in a sec. This is the Ethereum selling pressure chart, right? I think it's running up. It's going to, as bearish as people are on Ethereum, on silver, and as scared as people are on gold, that's the time to step in. I'm buying some physical gold now. I might, I'll show folks in my Discord what I have bought, and for you guys watching online, I might show it, in one of my future videos in the next week or two, what I'm buying right now. It's getting sent to the vault. So basically, why do I think that SP 500 should make a new all-time high? SP 500 here should make a new all-time high and bounce off the green zone. Because when it does that, that means Bitcoin's going for a big run. I'm not waiting for October, as I've been saying. I don't quite think this is a 4-year cycle. I think at worst we bounce off here. In extreme scenario, we bounce off this 695 area, boom, bounce, and up we go. Probably 3 red bars, as I've been saying, and it looks like, depending on the Friday action, we could close at about 740-ish, and that would give us a big bottoming tail. So far right now, there's just still too much red candle for me to call this a bottoming tail. Like just to be safe, we wanted to close about 740 at least or above, to say that's a bottoming tail, bottoming hammer, however you guys want to call it. And then next Wednesday, Kevin Warsh, right, we might get another sort of a red candle or a sideways candle, and then boom, up we go. Some people might say Thursday was the bottom as soon as Trump announced his peace deal. Some people might even say Thursday was the bottom. So now, basically, let's have a look at Ethereum. Oh, but by the way, why do I think, before we get onto ETH, why do I think SP 500 can keep going up? And that means Bitcoin can keep on doing a blow-off run. And it's all because of the fundamentals that's happening right here, right? Reason why I think SP 500 should go higher is because, look, what makes SP 500 go up in the past, right? There is something called the fundamentals, right? Unlike with a lot of shitcoins and a lot of tiny shitcoins that don't have earnings, the SP 500, the largest stock market in the world, basically relies on their earnings, right? Companies like Nvidia, Micron, Apple, their earnings reports are very much thoroughly dissected and studied by people in their industry and in their field. So look at this. You basically 24x PE, and this is 20x PE and 22. Yellow is 22. So yellow is 22 PE. That's 24x, 22x PE. So basically, we're in a bull market right now, and the SP 500 is trending inside a band between 20 to 24, with 22 about the midline. And it almost acts kind of like a Bollinger Band. When we hit, right, when we hit 20x to 24x PE, this is coming out of the COVID recovery, right? We don't go outside of it, right? We do go up, but we stay inside the 24x PE. And here we top out of the 24x PE, and in the bear market, yes, the PE contracts to like 18x, 16x, and then stocks become cheap again by American standards, right? Because US stocks are pumped. And then look at this here, right? Almost acts like a Bollinger Band, right? These tops, that was the trade war top. That was the oil top, right? So basically, the trade war crash, the oil crash. So remember how I was warning about 55% chance of a COVID-like crash. So basically, right, this, as we saw, went for the US PE on SP 500, went from 24 down to about 21. We almost touched the 20 part, and then we could have came down. But why does the US stock market keep on making new all-time highs? Part of it is money printing and liquidity and all that, but part of it is also because they have fundamentals. They have, those companies genuinely make a lot of earnings, their revenues are growing, they make lots of solid profit. For people who are patriots like Jim Cramer, they would just say, you're betting on America to do well. So basically, look at this. Look at this. So we came out of the Iran war crash here. If this is the PE. If it went flat, right, then we'd probably still be going sideways here. But because the PE ratio suddenly accelerated, the market is expecting earnings to be going up. What this is telling us, this trend coming out of COVID, what this is telling us is basically that PE is actually going up, right? That price earnings is actually going up. I shouldn't say PE itself, because PE is, let's say, take the mid value, 22, the yellow line. PE actually stays exactly at 22. Wherever this yellow line is, that's PE of 22 for SP 500 stocks. But what's making it go up? It's earnings. Earnings going up, E is going up, right? Earnings is going up. So therefore, earnings is going up. So therefore, earnings times 22x, which is yellow line, then also continues to go up, right? So in other words, earnings are accelerating coming out of the Iran conflict, Iran war here. Earnings accelerated to the top, right? That's why PE stayed unchanged at 22. Here's 24, here's 20. And so the stock market just accelerated up. In fact, some people say the stock market is cheaper now than it was back here. Here it was at about, see, it's above this red line, so it means above 24. It's about 25x PE. PE is about 25 here. Here, PE is about 23, right? But I do think in the next year or so, U.S. stock market tops, and we need a really big pop above this red line. We need a really big pop above this red line for everything to go vertical, and then boom. Right, because we have things like SpaceX doing their IPO right now. We have things like what's it called? We have things like the OpenAI and Anthropic, and they don't have any earnings. Let me show you guys how bad the situation is. So basically, so I'm not bearish in the near term. I think if there is a drop, I'm not expecting a massive drop. I'm buying gold right now. I'm buying Bitcoin. I've shown you my Bitcoin futures trade right here. Here's my Bitcoin futures trade, right? Not crazy, right? Just 5x, 7x leverage. I think this was an 8x trade, 7x trade. Nothing crazy, right? I'm buying gold. I'll show you guys in my Discord and probably on social media what I bought, right? In due time. But going forward in the next 12 months or so, 6 to 12 months, we need to be careful because this is the actual price. This is the actual price of these AI packages. Remember how I said SpaceX is coming to IPO, and then followed by Anthropic and OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. And I'm warning now 6 months to 12 months ahead of time that they have no earnings. They basically have no earnings. So basically, look, the cloud, basically, the plan price, if you buy a Cloud Pro plan, you pay $20 a month. Cloud Max, $100 a month. Cloud Max 20X, $200 a month. But if you use it, if you run an AI agent on it, if you use it continuously, you can actually rack up, right? $400 on a $20 plan, $2,000 on a $100 plan, $8,000 cost on a $200 plan. So these are 20x, even up to 40x. Here's 40x more. Same thing on ChatGPT, right? Here, basically, ChatGPT is much worse. Basically, this is 35x. You pay $20, but you can rack up 35x more of the cost, 35x more, and here's 70x more, right? 70x. You pay $200 a month. But if you have like a few AI agents working on that plan, you could rack up a bill of $14,000. You don't have to pay it. You just pay the plan price, right? So what that means is it's costing these AI companies they're about to list right now, ChatGPT Cloud, it's going to cost them like 70x more, $14,000, $8,000 per plan. It costs them, but you only pay $200. So that means that business model is hugely unsustainable. They are making huge losses here. They're making huge losses. The only way they could make money is by raising money from their venture capital VC investors. And the VC investors have had enough. They don't want to fund them anymore. So now they have to go to the market. And that's why they're going IPO. They're asking for money from the market, right? So they're going to have to raise their prices. And you say, oh, well, these models are going to dominate the world. So what if they raise their prices? Well, if they raise their prices and then boom, guess who? Green is US AI models. Yellow is the Chinese AI models, right? And basically, since about late 2025, they've started taking over. Like these are your DeepSeek, QN, Minimax, GOP, I think it's called. They're taking over, right? So because they're like 10x, 20x, 30x cheaper. If US models are already losing customers to the AI model, the Chinese AI models, for most of the functions, not for the elite level research functions. US models frontier models are still better, but for most tasks, the Chinese are winning market share, and yet you're still losing money. Imagine if they had to raise money to recoup their costs, right? This is where AI is going to crash the market 6 to 12 months from now.
So Pablo's calling the bottom now, but warning the real danger is the AI bubble 6 to 12 months out. If this kind of breakdown is what you want more of, subscribe so you don't miss it. The community link is in the description. Catch you next episode.